Good afternoon, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I've been covering communism lately in a few videos. I've got a question and answer video earlier if you want to check it out. You're not required to watch those previous videos to watch this one. Each one I try to make self-contained. Anyhow, this one is going to cover an unknown or unfamiliar point for most people. We don't talk about communism in this part of the world very much. It's just been assumed that it's unsupportable, we don't like it, it's evil, whatever you've been told in school or by your authorities. But historically and in many places in the world, communism is not so demonized, it's not so objectionable. Fully half the world, including China, Russia, formerly, and Cuba, Iran, Central American countries, etc., North Korea, they have embraced communism for a lot of good reasons. And I just want to cover one point. And I'm not even necessarily trying to peddle it other than the information so that people can make a decision. Because there is an absence of information, because it is skewed in our media and our education systems here, there isn't much discussion or dialogue about options, economic options. And it looks to me, honestly, that there are a lot of economic opportunities right now in the United States. So this is just one thing to think about. I'm not telling you to run out and vote for something. I'm just saying understand your choices. So the point I want to make in this video is that under capitalism, there is an expectation and a wide publicity about competition, right? Maybe you've heard this. It's a core concept to capitalism where businesses are expected to compete so as to keep quality elevated, so as to prevent monopolies, which are expected under capitalism to create a problem with quality, a problem with pricing, because there is no competition at that point. Now let's take this apart. Why is competition such a big deal under capitalism? It's because if you don't work and if you do not produce something of quality, then you're destitute, right? It's basically labor at gunpoint for all employees by degrees. And competition is used or leveraged, I should say, under capitalism so as to make sure that the quality doesn't dip too far. But here's the problem, and you might have heard this argument before. It's not a new idea. I did not come up with this idea. When you are forced as an employer, as a manufacturer or an employee to keep quality high enough just so that you don't get fired or go out of business, you end up with a mediocre product at best. Yeah, a lot of places start out with a good product, but you see this predictable decline in quality under our system every single time. And it's because companies tend to collaborate, they tend to merge, they tend to communicate and fix prices whether or not they're supposed to, and they agree basically under the table to keep quality at a manageable level so that no single company outperforms the other ones and makes them look bad, everybody gets along. But the problem is, again, that you end up with shoddy workmanship or planned obsolescence and all of these things that maybe you've heard about that aren't so great. So I want to point out something about communism. There's an alternative to quality control, such as we know it. There's a big alternative, actually, and that is, like I mentioned in my other videos, allowing people first to choose to work by way of giving them some kind of subsidies, by giving essential businesses and services subsidies from a central authority. And this is, again, for review, the only difference between communism and capitalism is your leadership chooses what to sell under communism. They choose very specifically via a list, which may be arrived at democratically or not, what to sell, versus letting the dollar and the open market decide what is available, which turns out to be everything that's not illegal. Under capitalism, you can predict that anything and everything that can be sold will eventually be manufactured and sold just to see if it sticks, if for no other reason. So you end up with, for example, our pharmaceutical nightmare that we're dealing with. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of drugs that may or may not even help you because someone's buying them. That's why, honestly. Your insurance is paying for it. But anyway, I digress. So under communism, one more time, quality control takes the shape of allowing people, by way of subsidies, personal subsidies, and essential businesses, to choose, that being the operative word, to choose their level of involvement for the first time ever, versus being forced at gunpoint into labor where the bottom line is just not getting fired. So they choose because they want to make more money. Usually they have an opportunity to expand their income on top of their subsidies. And presumably they care a little bit about this service that is essential, that they all benefit from, because it's from a shorter list, right? It's a decided list of things that are mutually beneficial, and it's very predictable people are going to care enough about it to work for the passion of it, the love of the service or product that they're producing. It might sound far-fetched in this part of the world that somebody might care about what they're making, but historically speaking, that's why people do things, besides necessity. There's more to it. So allowing people to choose to work makes their employment all of a sudden consensual. And this is, I can't overstate this. Consensual employment, by allowing people to make an agreement without duress, without the economic duress of this part of the world that every single employee has to deal with, means that all of a sudden they can be held accountable. Whereas now, whether they realize it or not, they have a valid complaint. Employees here in America have a valid complaint that they are forced at gunpoint to work, or else they get shot, or they have to, become homeless, they lose their place, all of the things that keep you working in this part of the world. Whereas under communism, like I said, hypothetically, you would choose, on top of your stipend or whatever, to increase your income because you care about a particular service, or you're good at something. Imagine being good at something and that's why you got a job, not just because you need to. You see the difference? Okay, so in conclusion, there's another way to control quality, to elevate quality, not just to elevate it to keep it above low quality, but to actually get way above mediocre quality, where people are passionate about what they do, passionate because they chose their occupation voluntarily and consensually, which you have never seen in this part of the world. And I cannot overstate this. Like I said, consensual employment does not happen here. You sign an employment agreement, but what are your options? Unless you are independently wealthy and volunteering your time, that might be the only exception. But if you had a safety net that was legitimate, your food, shelter, and clothing, and electricity, clean water, retirement, education, health care, and internet were all paid for, you would be able to choose. You would be able to consent and decide your own level of involvement. Nobody does that here. Makes all the difference. Anyway, reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.